Order, please. I'm Mike McGowan, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the committee meetings this morning, June 2nd, 2021. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D. headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D. website at the conclusion of the meeting. I'd like to announce that during this past month, we have seen changes made to the protocol for COVID-related precautions. The CDC has relaxed guidelines for masking and social distancing, and the Omaha City Council ordinance and the governor's declared directed health measures addressing mask requirements and social distancing have expired. However, the district is continuing with its precautions by requiring masks or 6-foot social distancing for all in attendance at the board meeting today. Thank you for your cooperation in this regard. I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety and Security and Business Continuity, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for those individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning. We are on the first floor here at M.U.D. headquarters. If for some reason we need to locate the fire extinguisher or the AED or the first aid kit, they're directly out here in this hallway. Should a medical emergency arise, 911 will be called at the front desk and security will meet the responders and bring them in here. Also, our severe storm shelter is also in the same hallway. If we need to evacuate the building for any reason, we'll go through this same exit, take 2 lefts, and reconnect in the garage, or we'll have an accountability. That concludes the safety briefing.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend. Frost.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available in the back of the boardroom, and a copy is also available in the nearby conference room set aside for members of the public who may attend. Before we start the actual meetings, I would like to, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to extend our sincere condolences to Dave Friend and his family on the loss of his mother. Our thoughts and prayers are with Dave and his family. Corey, you want to start us off?
You bet. Good morning. I'm Corey O'Brien, Vice President of Engineering and Construction and Interim Chief Operations Officer. Behind tab 5 this morning is our capital expenditures letter. We have 9 requests for funding on our letter this month, 4 of those being under the system improvements category. And if you would turn to page 2 of your letter, I'm going to speak briefly about 2 of those items under system improvements. Items number 1 and 3 are both projects where we're requesting funding to move underground gas regulator stations above ground. We've talked about these a number of times in the past months. Item number 1 is at 96th and West Center Road, and we're removing this one from below ground and putting it above ground simply because it's, like we talked about before, it's a safety issue for our gas distribution people, and it's also a corrosive environment when it's below ground. So we will be moving it above ground in a right-of-way for West Center Road. Item number 3, in this case, we're moving our regulator station as part of a city's project. It's a relocation effort. We're taking advantage of this to move it above ground again for worker safety and to get our equipment out of that corrosive environment. This one is at 84th and Dodge Streets. And as always, our engineering group does a very nice job of coordinating with the neighbors when we do this, because something that was below ground is now coming above ground. So those conversations do happen so that they're not surprised by our work. So any questions on those before I go on to buildings, plants, and equipment? Under buildings, plants, and equipment on page 2, item number 2, this is a request for $260,000 to resurface and reseal the skylights at the Platt South Water Treatment Facility. There are, I don't know what the actual count is, but there are 18,000 square feet of skylights on that facility. There's a lot. There's 2 big open areas as part of the plant, the upflow basins and the filter plant, or the filter bed areas. And the primary source of lighting during the daytime is from these skylights. Now, the skylights that are on the building now are not original to the construction of the building. These were installed in 1987, and they're made of fiberglass. And the manufacturer does recommend that they get rehabilitated periodically. And this is important because we don't want them to leak. Since they are over the filter beds and over our treatment basins, we don't want water leaking in those. So it's important that we do this periodically. And I also want to let you know that when we discuss this, we talk about, should we reseal them? Should we replace them? What are our options? And at this point, we want to make sure that we keep them watertight. So we are recommending the rehabilitation route. We did estimate to replace them would be about $1.2 million. And I would also like to remind the board that we are in the process of developing a capital improvement plan for Platt South. And items such as the skylights will be part of that plan when it's done. So moving forward, we will clearly have direction on whether we want to replace them. There's the option to probably eliminate them and put lights in the building too. All that would be rolled into the capital improvement plan decision process. So at this point, though, we do need to buy ourselves some time. So we want to rehabilitate them. That should give us 10 more years of good performance, and that's important to our water treatment. So any questions on that item? The last one, and it may take me just a couple minutes to walk through this one because it's kind of a little bit lengthier one. This is a request for $175,000 for well redevelopment at the Platt West treatment facility. Now, Platt West, as you know, has 2 well fields, and in those well fields are 42 wells. And water production wells like these, as they're used over time, their capacity will diminish slowly and slightly, but it's important to not let that process go too far. So we put them on a program to rehabilitate them periodically. So we are currently doing 6 wells per year. So that means that each well should get rehabilitated every 7 years. And that's important to keeping the capacity of the well field where it should be. This request is a little bit unusual in that it's a supplemental and a ratification request. And I'll explain why. In 2020, the board approved a CNA for $400,000 to rehabilitate 12 wells at the plant. 6 were to be done in 2020, and 6 were to be done in 2021. We did the 6 wells in 2020 and found that 2 of those wells needed more work than we anticipated. And the nature of that work, I probably should have put a picture up. There's a pipe that runs down the center of the well, and that's the pipe that carries the water out of the well when it's running. That's called column pipe. And over time, that pipe can degrade. And we found in 2 of our wells, a lot of that column pipe had deteriorated to the point where it needed to be replaced. So we did that last year. And we had the money to do it under that CNA that we approved last year. But we normally plan for about $30,000 to do a well. When we have to do the column pipe, it pushed it to almost $50,000 per well. So that's concerning just from the cost perspective. So that's why this is a supplemental. We are requesting additional funding because we're trying to anticipate if we have that level of repair to do in the wells that we're doing this year, we want to make sure we have the money. So that's why this is a supplemental to last year's CNA. The amount of this CNA does have enough in it to purchase enough column pipe to do all 6 wells should we need to do that. It's a proactive measure. In working with our contractor that does the work for us, last year when they had to order column pipe, it was easily obtainable in 3 to 4 weeks. And the reason that's important is when we do this work, we know there's some work that we have to do. Obviously, they're going to take the well apart and they're going to put the well back together. But once you pull it apart, that's when you find out how much stuff is worn out. What do you need to replace? That's kind of the unknown. And we don't want to be caught where we pull a well apart and we need this column pipe and we can't get it. And in talking to our contractor this year, with a lot of things affecting materials, like, as you see if you go to the lumber store, you're getting lumber, steel is not different. We are seeing long lead times on steel products and price volatility. So we worked with our contractor to order column pipe for these wells that we're going to do this year, because they're seeing at probably almost a month ago, they were seeing lead times of 10 to 12 weeks and high price volatility. So we didn't want to start taking wells apart and then find out we had a 3-month delay to get the material here, because then that throws our program off and that's not good for us. So that's why this is a ratification. We have gone ahead and purchased enough column pipe to rehabilitate 4 wells. And if we need to buy more for the last 2 wells, we have money in the CNA to do that. And if we wind up not needing the column pipe this year, it's fine. As we move forward, we will need the column pipe in future wells, and so it will get used. But we were trying to be proactive to keep our program on track and keep our plan on schedule. So a lot of words, sorry for that, but it's what we're doing in this case is clearly to kind of deal with the economic situation and what we're seeing in our supply chain. So are there any questions I can answer on that one? Great. That's all I have this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Corey. Ms. Hen will review the acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates. Good morning.
Good morning. Stephanie Hen, Director of Plant Engineering. We had 6 finals this month, and I will be reviewing the finals behind tab number 6. Of those 6 finals, I'm going to briefly highlight 2 of them. I'd like to draw your attention to item A on page 1. This was about a $175,000 project. In August of 19, we hired HDR Engineering to build a comprehensive risk model for our water distribution system. This was a very unique and neat project for us. This was a linear asset management type software. This software allowed us to, now we're able to identify critical miles and high-risk mains in our water distribution system. Then we know better what to replace and what to do condition assessment on. And our infrastructure integrity group is going to update this model, maintain it, and update it along with our GIS system. So that was a really cool project that everybody's excited about and now we get to use. I'd also like to talk about item F on page 3. This was about a $134,000 water main development project near 192nd and Harney. There was a net increase on this project of about $8,100. This included a change order of about $5,300. This was required because we needed to do some extra boring to avoid some conflicts in the field with some storm sewers. This was a developer-funded project, and they did approve these costs. Approval of this final will also approve the change order. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zellers will review the bids on materials and contracts now, please.
Good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 7. There are 4 items that I would like to discuss this morning. The first may be found on page 2, in which we issued an RFP for payment processing and merchant services for bank cards and electronic checks. We received 4 proposals that were evaluated by our IT and customer accounting teams, in which scope of service, vendor reputation, deployment, and value proposition were considered in the evaluation. Paymentus is our current credit card and electronic check processor and is being recommended to continue to provide respective and related services under a 5-year contract. This recommendation is based on several factors. Paymentus stood out from other processors by their investment in and ability to accept transactions through other payment channels and types, to include recurring credit card payments, text-to-pay, PayPal, Venmo, and Amazon Pay. Through an internal and separate financial evaluation by our accounting team, Paymentus's price structure provides for a reduction in cost by $0.05 per transaction when compared to 2019 data, resulting in an anticipated savings of $1 million over the 5-year contract period. Lastly, continuing the relationship with Paymentus will eliminate significant direct and indirect costs associated with the internal conversion to a new processor, which would likely require 6 to 9 months to complete. This would require internal resources by our IT, customer accounting, and accounting business units, effectively reducing availability of these resources, disrupting other initiatives. The next item may also be found on page 2. We received bids for the renovation of the headquarters roof. This is the last project associated with the overall renovation of the headquarters building. The roof is original to the structure and is approximately 20 years old. The roof was evaluated and is considered in good condition for its age, but would likely need to be replaced in 5 years. The condition of the roof makes it an ideal candidate for restoration using a liquid membrane product that would extend the existing roof life by 15 to 20 years. The estimate to replace the roof is $800,000, whereas the cost to restore the roof is just over a third of the replacement cost. We received 5 bids to restore the roof, in which we are recommending the second low bid from Independent Roofing, as the low bidder did not include all requested pricing. The last 2 items may be found on page 3. We are recommending the low bid for the replacement of 29 Wellfield pump house doors, as the low bid from Omaha Door and Window was incomplete. Lastly, we accepted bids for trash and recycling services at various district locations. We are recommending the bid from Waste Connections, otherwise known as Papillion Sanitation, as the low bidder took several exceptions to our contract language to include insurance requirements and one source for employee background checks. Just as a side note, the board may recall that Papillion Sanitation owns and operates a fleet of CNG trucks. And that's all I have for you this morning, but would be happy to answer any questions.
John, just a quick question. On page 2, the second project on the top there, the Water Mains Project, 144th Street, engineering's estimate was $2.7 million, but Judd Brothers and the rest of them came in at almost half of that. Why so low compared to our estimate?
Right now, Mr. McGowan, I can't answer that question directly, but our estimator has since retired, and so we have new estimators within engineering that are evaluating these projects and estimating these projects.
Mark Doyle, President. Mr. McGowan, we'll get you an answer on that. That's a great question. Right?
Yes.
We'll follow up on that with Corey.
Just curious.
Yeah. No, that's
because usually
we're
pretty close in the ballpark.
Something's there, but thank you. We'll get an answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions?
Hey, John, on the renovation on the roof for this building, do we know how much life we'll get out of the renovation? You said we'd have to replace the whole thing in the next 5 years for $800,000. Do we know how much the renovations will get out of this current roof?
Correct, 15 to 20 years.
15 to 20, okay.
Yes, yep. We will actually receive a 15-year leak-free warranty as part of that work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you.
Thank you, John. Before we go on tab 8, it's a notice of purchases between $25,000 and $50,000. That does not require any board approval or action by the board. It will be placed on file, but if anyone has any questions on it, we can follow up or not, or just move on. Okay, Mr. O'Brien, would you review the proposed main extensions, please?
You bet. Good morning again. Corey O'Brien, Vice President, Engineering and Construction and Interim Chief Operations Officer. Behind tab 9 is our main extensions letter for this month. We have 6 water main extensions on the letter. The impact of these 6 projects is 567 single residence lots, 1 multi-residence lot, and 1 commercial lot. You can see from the map there on the screen and on your letter that our projects are pretty well sprinkled amongst our subdivisions this month. Turning to pages 2 and 3, we do have the 6 main extensions. None of these projects this month involve district funding. They are all developer funded. I would mention that main extensions 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, the developers have also requested M.U.D. gas for their projects. Water main extension number 3 is not live within our gas service territory, so we will not be serving gas to that project. The only other comment I would offer would be that project 1 and 6, those 2 projects are being installed under the district's WCD policy, meaning that the developer wishes to hire the contractor themselves for the installation of the main. Are there any questions?
Whose
Yes.
gas service area is it then?
That would be Black Hills. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Ms. Hen will review water services contract partners for 2021.
Hello again, Stephanie Hen, Director of Plant Engineering. I will be discussing the water service contracts for 2021 behind tab number 10. As a part of our water infrastructure replacement goals, management is proposing that we authorize the president to enter into contracts with 3 contractors for water service work in 2021. We're proposing 3 separate partnerships with 3 plumbing contractors. As you recall, the district has obtained both water and gas contractors partners over recent years. This has been a very successful strategy for us. At this time, we're recommending 3 contractor partnerships: a 3-year contract with Backlund Plumbing, a 1-year contract with Next Gen Plumbing, and a 1-year contract with Veskrina Plumbing and Excavating. When a new water main is installed by district crews, the existing water services either need to be reconnected from the old main to the new main, or they need to be completely replaced. As a part of the district's water infrastructure replacement program, the district began hiring plumbing contractors in approximately 2010 in a case-by-case kind of basis. We then did bid this work in 2010, 2012, 2014, and 2018. Backlund Plumbing was a successful bidder in both 2014 and 2018 and has been our partner ever since. Also in 2020, we hired both Next Gen Plumbing and Veskrina Plumbing and Excavating during times of higher work volumes. Water service work tends to be kind of sporadic. It's a large volume of work, but it's very fragmented, has really tight time frames, and it's really hard for us to tell contractors when the work needs to be done. It doesn't give them a lot of lead time, a lot of planning for their resources. So we figured out over time that it's necessary for us to have multiple contractors to do this work so we don't delay projects. Currently, we've obtained quotes from Backlund Plumbing, Next Gen Plumbing, and Veskrina Plumbing and Excavating. We negotiated with each contractor to come up with a common pay schedule. So all of these contractors will be paid on the same pay schedule. Each contract will then be set up for possible extensions with newly negotiated prices each year. With Backlund Plumbing as our current partner, we're proposing that we would allot them about half of the water service work for 2021. We would also propose that Next Gen and Veskrina each get about a quarter of the work for 2021. You, as a board, over time have been very, very supportive of our efforts as we work towards our infrastructure replacement goals. And we would just like to say thank you for that. That's allowed us to enter into these partnerships on both the gas and water side and has allowed projects to run a lot smoother. Over time, we've learned that these partnerships build trust and relationships on both sides. It also provides for efficiency in planning. We as the district know that we have contractors to perform this critical work that needs to be done, and the contractor knows that they have work coming in to keep their business going strong. Therefore, management is recommending at this time that the president be authorized to enter into 3 partnerships: 3-year contract with Backlund, a 1-year contract with Next Gen Plumbing, and a 1-year contract with Veskrina Plumbing and Excavating. Like I mentioned before, all of these will be paid on the same schedule. So they'll be paid the same for the same type of work they're doing. We will have the option to extend the contracts if everything is going well, and there will be new prices negotiated every year. We've realized that we do need multiple partners to do this work due to the large volume and the tight time frames. All of this water service work is part of the district's replacement plan for critical water infrastructure. Again, thank you very much for your support in the past as we forge into our infrastructure program and try and make progress on that. And these water service contracts are another piece of that critical water infrastructure. And with that, I would be glad to answer any questions.
Steph, we're very familiar with Backlund. What about Next Gen and Veskrina? Are they local companies?
Yes, they are. Next Gen is based here in Omaha, and Veskrina is based in Wahoo.
Thank you.
You bet.
Stephanie, why a 3-year contract at Backlund? Like Tim says, we know them, we've worked a lot with them, but it sounds like we've worked with Next Gen and Veskrina, but why a 1-year contract with them?
We haven't worked with them nearly as long. We've been working with Backland a whole lot longer. And so anytime we have what we would consider newer contractors for us, figure we'll only try a one-year contract and see how it goes. And if it's going well, then we would recommend to extend.
I'd like to put a few comments on that. Thank you, Stephanie, for continuing to work on this. And also, I want to reiterate our gratitude to the board for supporting us. There's a difference between bidding and partnerships. And when we started out bidding with contractors and water service installers, you can't hire people in the private sector when you don't know what's coming and with small amounts of work. And if you do, our prices are much higher. So, and it's a little bit of Steph and her group have worked really well with our contractors. And although we don't know the other two as well, we hope to get to 3-year, but this is really critically important work for us, but also they're in the yards of our customers every day. And they're working with their connection between the main and the house, and oftentimes it's lead, and we prioritize those. We want to get those replaced sooner. So I think it's a really nice blend of telling a contractor that's been a good partner, oh, we're not, you know, they're concerned, like if we only gave them a 1 year when we've given them 3 years in the past, that wouldn't be right. They've helped us develop our pricing. But the other two deserve a 1 year so we can make sure they can hire some people and have a steady flow for a year. I expect they'll both go to 3-year. I mean, we hope they do. That's our objective.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, thanks to you and the whole group for continuing not only on our water main partners, but our water service partners and the board's trust in us for continuing that. We've come a long way in a couple years. I really feel we have.
I do too. Thanks so much for those comments. We appreciate it.
Hey, Steph, so for our water infrastructure replacement, we have district crews and we have contracted crews.
Correct.
And you mentioned that given tight time frames, the sporadic issues involved with the work, was there ever any consideration, knowing that this is a long-term, the water infrastructure replacement is long-term, was there any consideration given to hiring our own master plumbers? Not to do all this work, but as we do for the overall project in combination with contractors, given all the reasons that you laid out?
We did think about that. It would need to be a significant workforce to increase that. And so that's why we started down the contract path. That doesn't mean that we can't do this in-house and we could change our path. We absolutely could. It's just a significant effort. So we're talking about significant resources, not only people, but equipment and all the everything goes
and that's understood, and it's a significant investment in resources with the contractors as well. So
absolutely, yes.
Whichever way we go, it would be expensive. Was there a cost analysis done on if we were to hire some internal master plumbers?
We really haven't yet, because we had been going down this contracted path since 2010, you know, bidding the work and everything, and we got into here this last year, and all the challenges there were with the pandemic. It's like, okay, our contract is ending. What should we do? First we thought about, here, maybe we should just extend it, and then we figured out we needed more contractors to do that. So we forged ahead on this path and really didn't look super hard at going in-house, but we certainly can.
Because the logistical issues that you raised, I think, would be improved if we did have at least a few master plumbers within the organization. But I do it's a complicated issue. I understand that completely.
I think this would be a good time to get into that and to look at that. I mean, in addition to hiring these outside concerns, we also have reputation to consider. And if we have quality master plumbers in our organization, we should really cultivate that. I think this is an opportunity to look at that. Thank you, Jim.
Directors Begley and Howard, and for the whole board, I'm 100% supportive of that concept. At this time, we don't have the facilities to even support additional crews to do our water mains. When we get to 30 miles a year, there's going to be so much more of everything that, I mean, that's my objective, is to have more internal water main crews, and we're heading that way. I think Ms. Henn is shared the numbers of what we're doing in-house versus contract on water mains. That needs to go up in terms of what we do in-house. But first, we need the facilities, and we're working on that. We're moving to a temporary while we get our current construction center in order, but we're building another construction center with your support, and I think we can, I think the future is going to change drastically in that direction. Plus having contractors, we have so much to get done that I think the tent is really big.
Sure, and
Yeah.
Mark, that is well stated, and I think we're all on the same page.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is a 3-year contract with 1-year contracts as well.
Yeah.
We're talking 50 to 75 years for the entire infrastructure replacement program, so I just wanted to make sure that we consider that going forward as well.
Probably forever.
Yeah.
It does sound like you're looking at this bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Down
Right.
the road, and with the 1-year, 3-year, 1-year contract, this gives a little leeway to kind of cultivate those individuals that would be out there in this field and would be interested in working with M.U.D,
Yeah,
which I would say is a
absolutely.
quality organization.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Steph.
those questions and for the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is Bonnie here? Oh, here she comes. And now, Ms. Savine will cover the wage and/or salary increases.
Good morning.
Good timing.
Good morning, Bonnie.
How are you? Good to see everybody. Good morning. Bonnie Savine, Vice President, Human Resources. I'll begin with a couple of recaps briefly on employees and on our job placement process. So as far as employee counts for the end of May 2020 and 21, May 31st of 20, we had 812 regular full-time employees. We had 3 regular part-time, so that was a total of 815. This May, we have 811 regular full-time with 4 regular part-time, so 815. We did hire 20 new hires last month, so with a few retirements, you can see we've shown up about 16 more with this month than last. We also have 6 temporary employees and 13 of our summer hires at the end of May. With regard to jobs that are actively in the job placement process, we have 3 that have requisitions routing through the approval process right now. We have 7 jobs posted, that's internally and externally. We have 2 new jobs that are expected to post this week. And there are 18 jobs in the application review or interview stages. We've had quite a few postings in the last few weeks. And we have 4 jobs with selected candidates in the hiring stages and 5 additional summer hires that are going to be coming on in the next couple of weeks. And now on to, I believe it's tab 11. You'll find the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 18 employees this month. We have 14 OAC employees being promoted through the normal job posting process. We have 2 OAC employees being promoted through the natural job progression process within their job family. Additionally, there is 1 OAC employee that has been promoted into an SPA job. And then we do have 2 new hire ratifications for the month of May, and those were in engineering and accounting. Do you have any questions?
Bonnie, just a
Yes.
quick question.
Yes.
I counted on the promotions, or there are 13 pipe layers moving into different jobs.
Correct.
Why is it so many in 1 month? And what happens to the pipe layers? Are we hiring behind them? What's going on there?
Sure. The pipe layer trainees are our entry-level position into construction. And so we have been creating, again, that 1 new infrastructure replacement crew last month. So that meant we pulled some of our own folks and moved them into those positions to dedicate to that crew. And then we've also had some attrition, and we've had, because of retirements, and then we've had some promotions out of the division. So when you can bring them on. We brought them in groups of 5. Our last group was a little smaller, but they go through a training process together. And so from an efficiency perspective, it helps to have at least, some group of individuals to train at the same time. But so these are those folks that are backfilling the vacancies that we have within the division.
So are these pipeline trainees that are moving into different jobs, or have they been promoted from trainee to a full pipeline?
Yes. So you're seeing on the board letter those trainees that have satisfied the requirements for training, performance, attendance, and so they are being recommended to bump up to the full job, and then those 15 or so that we just hired as trainees will backfill their positions. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Shafford will now report on his findings with regard to the proposed renewal of the unsecured line of credit as a follow-up to last month's meeting.
So good morning, Joe Shafford. I serve as the district's chief financial officer. I'll be speaking to the information behind tab 12. And as Board Chair McGowan indicated, this was laid over from the last board meeting since I only presented one proposal at the last meeting. So I did negotiate a 1-month extension with First National just so the credit line didn't lapse. So I did reach out to Wells Fargo and U.S. Bank, which are the other 2 banks that we rely on to meet our banking needs, in addition to First National. U.S. Bank chose not to submit a proposal. Wells Fargo did submit a proposal, and you can see a comparative table on the board memo that shows the comparative terms between Wells Fargo and First National. There are key differences. From a borrowing perspective, Wells Fargo actually offers a cheaper rate. We can currently borrow at LIBOR plus 40 basis points or 0.5% with no floor. First National's terms remain unchanged at LIBOR plus 50 or 0.6% borrowing rate, although they do have an interest rate floor of 1.95%. I should note LIBOR is being phased out as a benchmark interest rate and will be replaced, and the different banks are still figuring out what they're going to use for benchmarks. I believe First National will land on prime rate and Wells Fargo will use the secured overnight financing rate. The other thing that's a relevant difference is the commitment fee, which is what you pay on the unused or unborrowed funds. Wells Fargo charges 33 basis points on unborrowed funds, or if we don't borrow anything, $66,000 a year for a commitment fee. First National charges 15 basis points or $30,000 a year on unborrowed. The other fee that Wells Fargo will charge in year 1 at least is pass-through legal fees related to drafting the credit line language. That is an estimated number, though our banking rep says they do enough of this. That's a pretty solid direct pass-through of legal fees. First National has no additional fees. So in light of the reason we have a credit line, that is to enhance liquidity, and I guess it's not likely we'll borrow on it. We haven't since 2006. We have it primarily to attempt to buy down bond borrowing costs. So management is recommending renewing the credit line with First National Bank of Omaha. Are there any questions?
Is it a 1-year renewal?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, just like it was last time, yes. Anything further? Thank you.
Thanks for going above and beyond.
Absolutely. No,
I know it's a little more work, but I know we appreciate your efforts,
No,
Joe.
that was good direction. I appreciate
You've made us
that.
all smarter.
Myself as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Myers will now take up the insurance renewals.
Good morning. I'm Mark Myers, Vice President of Accounting. I'll be presenting the information today related to the renewal of various third-party insurance policies that are scheduled to expire on June 15th. Behind tab 13, there are 3 documents. First, you'll find a letter dated May 27th that describes the renewal and the associated premiums and fees. Next, there's an executive summary prepared by Aon that provides an overview of the insurance market as well as their efforts to market our coverage to various carriers. And then finally, there is a schedule comparing the asset values and the premiums that are contained in the existing policies to those reflected in the proposal. I'll be covering these materials today, but Gary Wagner is on in attendance as well on the WebEx, and he's available to answer any questions as well. He's our representative from Aon. So as stated in the letter, the proposed renewal does contain a substantial increase, with the combined annual premiums and fees increasing by $229,227, or 29.4%. And there are three primary factors that are driving this increase. First, market conditions continue to be very challenging in the insurance industry. Property and casualty insurance markets have experienced significant claims over the last several years, and these losses have caused some carriers to actually exit the market altogether and others to reduce the amount of liability loss that they're willing to cover. So as a result, rate increases are being required across the industry, with many carriers pushing for rate increases of 15 to 20%, even for clients without any recent losses. So that leads to the second reason for the increase, is the district does have two pending property damage claims outstanding. One is related to the flood damage that occurred back in the spring of 2019. That claim is ongoing but nearing completion. And the other is the ongoing property damage at the construction center that is being worked. So those claims have contributed to the increase in premiums and have also limited the options for going out for quotes from other carriers to give us pricing on the coverage. And the third factor is simply an increase in the value of the property that we're insuring. That rose by $66.6 million, or about 7.1%. And as the value of the property you're covering goes up, the premiums typically go up as well. A lot of that $66 million increase is simply the inflation factor that's built in of the existing assets. That's about $45 million, and the remainder is due to purchase and acquisition of new assets over the last year. Next, I just want to touch a few points on each of the policies that's being renewed. First is the policy covering property, equipment breakdown, and data processing. These are all covered in a combined single rate quote, and they cover risks of physical loss or damage from events such as fire, windstorm, flooding, terrorism, and earthquakes. This risk will continue to be shared by two carriers, Aegis and StarTech, the same carriers we've had this past year and previously. And premiums for this policy increased by $216,550, or about 34.8%. This is primarily due to an increase in the cost of the insurance, but also an increase in the insurable values that I mentioned. This is the vast majority of the total increase. It's $216,000 of the $229,000 total. The auto and construction equipment policies are standalone policies and quoted separately. Auto insurance is a comprehensive type of coverage protecting against damage caused by perils such as theft, fire, vandalism, and natural disasters. Nationwide is the carrier for this insurance, and this is actually one bright spot in the renewal this year, with the premiums actually going down. The impact is relatively small, but premiums are decreasing $3,880, or about 8.7%, and that's largely due to a lower cost of the insurance per vehicle, partially offset by an increase in the number of vehicles that we own. The construction contractors equipment policy, this one covers owned and rented construction equipment for perils such as theft and vandalism. The limits on this coverage are $500,000 per piece of equipment, and the carrier is Continental Casualty. These premiums are rising about $5,713, or 16.4%, again due to an increase in the insured values as well as increase in the cost of the insurance. This year's renewal also includes the cyber liability policy, which covers third-party liability for losses related to cyber events and first-party coverage for event management and cyber extortion. This insurance coverage was first purchased last year in 2020, and the premium ran from April 1st of 2020 through June 15th of 2021. So we ended that one to align with the renewal of the other policy, so we're including it here. AIG is the current carrier, and this policy that's expiring included a liability limit of $1 million and a $50,000 retention or deductible. The new quote from AIG continues to include the $1 million liability limit, but requires an increase in the retention to $150,000. And they changed some of the terms around ransomware as well. They reduced the ransomware limit from $1 million to $500,000 and are requiring a 50% coinsurance for these events, meaning the district will share equally in any losses related to ransomware. The annual premiums are, excluding commissions, are expected to increase from $10,420 to $21,278, or an increase of about 104%. An increase of this size is not uncommon in the current environment. A recent rise in the number of cyber events has caused rates to increase significantly across the board. Aon provided some information showing the average rate increase for cyber insurance back in April of 2020 was just 5.2%. In March of this year, it was 60.6%, and it's not uncommon now to see rate increases of 100% or more. Also, at this time, utility companies are facing increased scrutiny from underwriters, especially in light of events like the recent ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline. So to summarize the proposal, the increases are significant, especially in property and cyber coverage, but Aon is advising us that these are acceptable under the current market conditions. They're consistent with what they're experiencing in the marketplace, and also considering the 2 open property damage claims that we have outstanding. I would note that with Aon's assistance, we did update or increase the 2021 budget, anticipating some of these increases. We assumed a 25% increase in the property coverage and a 10% increase in the auto, construction equipment, and cyber insurance. So the 2021 budget is sufficient to cover nearly all of this increase with a shortfall of about $10,000. And so management is recommending that the board approve this insurance proposal for the period June 16th, 2021 through June 15, 2022, reflecting premiums and fees of $1,009,004.
Mark, what was the deductible again for cyber coverage?
Cyber coverage, it was $50,000, and it's going up to $150,000.
Is it worth it to get this insurance and not be self-insured?
I think there is value in having this insurance. There is some coverage there, and you also get the expertise in terms of event management to assist when an event like this may take place.
Is this the only carrier that offers this, or I don't know how widespread the insurance?
Yeah, Aon did market this insurance for cyber, had several other companies decline. We're still evaluating to see if there are others. AIG is the current carrier and declined increasing the limits and actually made that one change to the ransomware. Now, Aon is continuing to look for others who may cover the excess above $1 million, but have yet to find anyone who is interested in covering this for
Seems
that.
to be quite an emerging field that you're going to have to keep your thumb on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, we use a broker that goes out and looks for the best and lowest cost. Cyber is in the news almost every day now. You may have heard the latest on one of the largest meatpacking plants in the country was hit yesterday. And ransomware's it's a scary thing. And I would say that at your convenience, it's probably a good time for us to have a closed session discussion about what the focus we have, the things that you've supported in the last 5 years to move our IT to a different platform that takes advantage of security resources at that data center that we couldn't afford, frankly. And that's not everything. We have our SCADA systems in-house. We have an annual report, a review. We're focused, I'm probably more focused on that than I am other things. Any day, I guess, I read everything I can, but I also have information locally of things that maybe have gone on that have been in the news that you would remember. I want to reassure you that we're paying great attention to this. We have meetings regularly with senior management and Sue Lopesiger and her IT group that's responsible for information security. But the things that I'm confident in is the ability to recover data from another place and not just worry about your data that you have. If it starts getting encrypted, you need to be able to take as current as you can and bring it back. I want to instill confidence in you that you'll never be perfect, but we're focused on it. You've supported some things that have put us in a good position where we're not going to. Some companies, they have an event like Colonial, and it's like, oh no, now we need to put $30 million into cyber security and beef it up. We're beefed up, but we're never perfect. I'd like to, at the right meeting, schedule a closed session. Director Kavanaugh, same things on our mind. When you start having a $150,000 deductible and it's a $500,000, the best thing is to never be in that position, but I'd like to talk about all those things with the board. And this is a topic that we do hold in confidence. It's appropriate for that type of discussion, and there's a lot to talk about. And it's one of the things, when people say what keeps you up at night, well, there's several things here, being a gas utility and, our water infrastructure needing help, but that's the third one. Safety is always the first, but so thanks for the questions. It's a bigger discussion. We really believe that, and we struggled with this when we analyzed whether we want to even carry cyber or not, Mark, a couple years ago.
Yeah,
we really did. We think it would be almost indefensible if something would occur to come to you and the public and say we don't have it. There may come a day where we think we shouldn't, but at this time I think it's a sound recommendation, and it is an emerging product, and the insurance companies are struggling with it as well. That's obvious, right?
Mm-hmm. But a lot has happened in the last 2 years in this area. And like Gwen said, I think this is an emerging threat that we have to really make sure we keep our thumbs on it. So, and I would appreciate, and I think the other board members too, a closed session just to get our hands around this.
Yeah, I think, we want to make sure you're confident in all the things we've been doing and will continue to do. Okay. So thank you.
Mark, one quick question I had. What is the deductible on the auto fleet? Do we have a deductible for if we have an accident?
Yeah, it's a $1,000 per vehicle deductible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kubat, I hear the legislature is done. Is that right?
It is done.
Will you give us an update then?
Oh, this will be my last update until next year, so everybody should rejoice around that.
Aren't you going to update us on the redistricting?
We will. And I can start with that. We are currently engaged with the University of Nebraska, Omaha, in their mapping group, and they're supposed to be providing us an agreement. We've kind of come to terms with them, and in the near future we'll be updating the board about working with the board to provide you some updating sessions along with some proposed maps for the new subdivisions. Oh, we'll get you that information, I would think, within the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. As far as the legislature is concerned, as Director McGowan stated, they are adjourned. The long session has adjourned. Really want to update you on three bills. The first is LB 26 by Senator Justin Wayne. That bill did pass and was signed by the governor recently. And what that will do is it will exempt specifically residential water from both city and state sales tax as of October 1st of this year. We estimate that should save our residential water customers roughly $26 to $28 annually on their residential water bills. I believe we discussed it previously, but LB 83 by Senator Flood did also pass, and it will allow this board to hold up to half of your monthly board meetings in a virtual setting, or 6 of your 12. And then really, I just want to highlight LB 406, which is on page 4. That bill by Senator McDonald did a few things. It received a $2 million general fund appropriation to provide for a study of Lake McConaughey out in Keith County, along with a study of Lewis and Clark Lake, which is in northeast Nebraska. And then for purposes of the district's interest, they're going to study potential flood control measures from Columbus all the way down to Plattsmouth, and they've created a task force to do so, and M.U.D. is a named member of that task force. Other than that, there's several legislative studies in the interim that will be closely monitored on behalf of the district. And that's all I have as far as this report goes, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions should you have any.
No questions, just a comment. We appreciate your updates every month. I think you do a great job going down there and following all that's going on and keeping us briefed on all the different bills, and we thank you for it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Rick, are there any updates on the federal dollars that we could utilize for, I suppose, the people that are needing assistance with their bills?
You know what I would say is we're in the early stages of that. I know the city of Omaha, Douglas County just recently both received over $100 million, and the state of Nebraska got substantially more money than that. We have been engaged with folks from the state of Nebraska and Douglas County, and I think at this stage, they even though they're in receipt of the money, they're trying to get their hands wrapped around how they're going to dole it out, so to speak, and we'll be providing some information to them. The one thing that the American Rescue Plan does is it states within there that they would like some funds to go to water infrastructure and lead service lines. One of the unfortunate aspects about the district is because we're a political subdivision that's not part of the state of Nebraska, or Douglas County or the city of Omaha, we're really at their mercy in terms of whether or not they would consider us as a potential recipient for those purposes. It would be a little bit different if we're like the city of Lincoln, where the water department is under the city of Lincoln's umbrella. It's a little bit easier of an ask that way. But, you know, there's benefits to the way that we're set up as a political subdivision. I think this set of circumstances, because the federal dollars didn't flow directly to us, is one of the few situations where I'd prefer if we were set up a little bit differently.
Well, the city of Omaha has their own infrastructure with the sewer separation project. I would like to see some consideration of that in terms of the money that's coming in. I mean, that's costing everyone, and we're collecting the money on our bills.
And I've had conversations with the director of the city of Omaha's wastewater operations, who works for Mr. Stubbe, and we've had conversations about specifically that, the hope that some of the city of Omaha's funds would flow into that program. But as you're well versed in, it's certainly going to be a highly charged political decision on what the city of Omaha is going to do with their portion of funds.
Well, I would see that as a very worthwhile project that benefits everyone that flushes their toilet.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Do any board members have any further comments? Do we have anyone in the adjacent conference room who would like to make any comments? If none, the committee meetings have now concluded. In light of the the effort to kind of move this along and get people going to maybe a 10 days funeral, I would propose that we don't take a break, go right into the agenda meeting, if that's okay. Any objection to that?
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I'm sorry. This is the public room. We do have one member of the public in attendance, but he doesn't have any questions. No questions. Sorry, we were chatting. Apologize.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Let's see, it is officially 9:14. I'd like to call the regular meeting to order. My name is Mike McGowan, Chairperson of the M.U.D. Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors. I'd like to welcome you all to the regular board meeting this morning, June 2nd, 2021. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D. headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D. website at the conclusion of the meeting. I'd like to announce that during the past month we have seen changes made to the protocol for COVID-related precautions. The CDC has relaxed guidelines for masking and social distancing, and the Omaha City Council ordinance and the governor's directed health measures addressing mask requirements and social distancing have expired. However, the district is continuing with its precautions by requiring masks or 6-foot social distancing for all in attendance at the board meeting today. Thank you for your cooperation in this regard. Roll call, please.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend. Frost.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available in the back of the boardroom, and a copy is also available in the nearby conference room set aside for members of the public who may attend. And now those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of minutes for the public hearing, committee meetings, and regular monthly board meetings that were held May 5th, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I move for approval.
Second.
As stated.
We have approval and second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Capital expenditures. Director Frost.
I move we approve the capital expenditures as presented by Mr. O'Brien at the committee meetings and as outlined in his letter dated May 25, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 6, agenda item number 6, acceptance of contracts and payments of final estimates. Director Frost, please.
I move we approve the acceptance of contract and payment of final estimates as presented by Ms. Henn at the committee meetings and as outlined in her letter dated May 25, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Agenda item number 7, bids on materials and contracts. Director Frost.
I move we approve the bids on materials and contracts as presented by Mr. Zellers at the committee meetings and as outlined in the letter from Ms. Meisinger dated May 21, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Let's see, are we on agenda item number 7 or 8?
Number 8.
8, that's what I thought. Notice of purchases between $25,000 and $50,000. Director Frost.
I would like to request that we place on file the notice of purchases letter as outlined in the letter from Ms. Meisinger dated May 21, 2021.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, main extensions. Director Kavanaugh.
Main extensions, I recommend approval of the extensions that were presented by Mr. Corey O'Brien during our committee meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes?
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item 10, Water Services Contract Partners for 2021. Stephanie Henn presented this during our committee meetings, and I move that we accept the district's request to proceed with this contract with the 3 partners.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes?
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Agenda item number 11, wage and/or salary increases and ratification. Director Begley, please.
I move that we approve the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as presented in the memo from Ms. Savine dated May 21st, 2021, and discussed in committee this morning.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes?
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Agenda item number 12, I move we approve the renewal of the unsecured line of credit as presented by Mr. Shafford in the committee meetings and as outlined in his letter to the board dated May 25th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes?
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 13, insurance renewals. Director Howard, please.
I move that we approve the insurance renewals as presented by Mr. Myers at the committee meeting and as outlined in his letter dated May 27th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion. Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes?
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Agenda item number 14, fifth legislative report for 2021. Director Cook.
I would like to request that the 5th legislative report dated May 25th, 2021, as presented by Mr. Kubat at the committee meetings, be placed on file.
Okay. Item number 15, matters of district business for discussion. Is Bonnie going to give us a quick update?
Hello, once again, Bonnie Savine, Vice President, Human Resources. Just a brief update on our COVID situation at the district. We currently have 0 active cases as of last Friday. That's the first time in a very long time that we can say that, and we are very excited to share that. As far as our vaccination efforts, we continue to see an increase in those that have received a first dose vaccination. We are at 67% of our regular employees that have received a first dose, and 63% are fully vaccinated at this time. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
Bonnie, do you see value in having an on-site vaccination clinic? I mean, 63%, is that what you had said?
Yes.
That's what we're at now, which I can understand how people that are busy working their everyday jobs and taking care of their kids and keeping up with all their life activities could benefit from having the vaccinations provided on-site, just like what you did last November with the, it was what, the shingles?
Flu, shingles, and
the
pneumonia.
hepatitis, which I took advantage of. Thank you.
Yes. So we have looked at that. As far as our survey of employees goes, we had about 55% originally that said that they were interested. So the fact that we're at 67% with a first dose is actually very exciting, because that additional education efforts we think has paid off. So what we are looking at, however, is the fact that we are looking to hold, we have booked and arranged our benefit fair for this fall. Good. And so we are bringing it back. We recognize that there very well may be a booster vaccine that is needed in the fall. So we are working with a couple of vaccination vendors that could come to that clinic and provide those booster vaccines.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're going to be able to do the
We are
healthcare
too.
in the fall. That's such a good event. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'd like to mention that due to COVID-related precautions, members of the public have access to the meeting today via a WebEx connection that is set up in a conference room adjacent to this boardroom at the headquarters building. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the board? And if so, please indicate your intentions to the moderator.
Mr. Chair, no members of the public are present. No questions, sir.
Okay, thank you. We have decided that we will not have a closed session today. Do we have a motion to return? Do we have a motion? I'm
Director McGowan, just we're running really well here, Director Kavanaugh. We have just a couple minutes. There was some discussion about the rebranding topic. We would like to schedule a meeting with the marketing committee and bring it back to the board now that we've got some final recommendations and get your input. Nothing's written in stone here. And this all began when we decided to brand our water. So this is a little extension of that. So we'd like to schedule that in between now and July and then decide when we bring it to the board. And secondly, some exciting things are happening in the metropolitan area, the swim trials, the College World Series. There's something else, I'm having a senior moment, the Senior Golf Open. We've decided that, as we have in the past, this is such a wonderful event. These are wonderful events, but nothing's better than a couple million gallons of M.U.D. water used for some of the best swimmers on the planet. We prepared a video that's been run on social media and as a way to effectively and responsibly advertise. And if you don't mind, it's a short minute and a half, and we'd like to finish on that positive note.
Hi, my name is John Ireland. I'm the Director of Technical Services for Mirtha Pools USA, and I'm in charge of the build that you see here behind you. This is two 50-meter Olympic pools for the U.S. swimming trials here in Omaha. It's been our absolute pleasure to do this now for the fourth time in Omaha, and it's a really terrific event put on by the Omaha Sports Commission and other companies and entities around the state that really helped to make this possible.
And how much water does it take to fill up this pool?
The one you see behind you is just over 1 million gallons, and the pool in halls A and B, which acts as a warm-up pool, is about 1.3. So grand total, including the surge tanks, all the plumbing, and everything else, we're looking at about 2.5 million gallons of water.
How long have you been working towards this goal of seeing the water in the pool today?
Oh my goodness. So this particular event started planning in mid-2019. We had to postpone things due to COVID, and so glad to be getting this on, but this is the work of about 40 or so engineering and architectural professionals working with USA Swimming and the Omaha Sports Commission to get everything lined up, and then the actual build takes 80 technicians from 6 different companies, plus a lot of local union help from the great city of Omaha.
And how long will it take to fill the water in these pools?
Somewhere around 10 hours. We're getting really great flow from the hydrants, and as you can see, the water is also very, very clear coming in. So it's going to be a pretty easy job for us to get it filtered, sanitized, and ready to swim.
So thank you for letting us play that. We'll send this to you so you can hear the audio a little better. And we also had a media interview where we asked whoever these folks are that do this all the time, what they thought about. I don't know if we asked them. They volunteered that our water comes out in a state of such high quality that they have less chemical. I don't know if the adjective was spectacular, but it was something like that, and I'll just go with that one. So should be very proud of our water.
Do we have to do any special treatment for the water, or is it just the regular tap water?
They do always have to add chlorine, but they add less than they used to, and I think because of our water, they have to add less.
We don't have to do anything special.
Oh, no, we don't.
That's what I was asking.
No, right out of the hydrants.
Okay.
We just want to make sure we do it right and we don't break any mains when we turn those valves. So hats off to the board for all their support all these years and prior boards to have water like this, and to all the great employees of M.U.D. for keeping it flowing for our community in such a high quality state.
I would
Thank
think
you.
less fluoride would be better for the swimmers too.
Pardon?
I would think since they have the opportunity to add less fluoride, that'd be better for the swimmers.
Yes. Chlorine, yes, absolutely.
Chlorine, I'm sorry.
It is, yes. Everything's better than it used to be. That's hard going in and out of water. It's rough on them.
Thank you.
One other question. Are we having our water truck for the drinking water in the parking lots for the Senior Open or College World Series?
Not sure. We'll get an answer for you on that, and also the farmers markets. That's been a very
Right.
popular. Good question. Not sure if the state of the community is going to let us, but if they do, we will.
Yeah, that's a great service.
fantastic.
Yes. And then the last thing, one last comment. I thought Stephanie's letter on branding that she sent out was excellent. You know, I think it's something that we ought to keep moving forward to. I saw the marketing committee is going to meet on it. Looking forward to the feedback from that, but I think that's a great effort. She did a great job summarizing.
Yeah, it's a culmination of a longer process to try to get everything lined up and consistent. We have a lot of things over. It's not like we're going to do everything all at once, but we do want your input before we finalize anything. We think we have some options that we hope you'll like, and so thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I'd just like to say and thank the board members for moving this along and in respect to some special considerations and requests. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Bagley?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
McGowan?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.